everybody? Project Manga is back with episode 17 of the Special Grade podcast. I'm your host, Nickums.
What's up, Special Grades? It's Kiko.
As y'all know, on this podcast, we cover Jigokuraku, Undead Unluck, Kaiju number 8, and Phantom Seer. Go ahead and check out the video description down below where you can see timestamps to skip to only the manga that you're current in and skip spoilers or whatever. Before we begin, first want to say Nox is not here, obviously. He's just busy tonight. Just Kiko and I today. Gonna get some heavy theory conversations. And also before we begin, just want to say a special thank you to all of the patrons who are subscribed to this level of content. We greatly appreciate it. Just like brightens our days and fucking really gives us the drive to keep pushing out this great content for you. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And a special shout out to our newest Special Grade subscribers, Travy Trav and Parlay Miles. Thank y'all so much. Welcome.
Thank you. We love you.
Love you. And one more reminder for everyone, including our newbies, your subscription includes a special Discord role that grants you access to a hidden chat in our Project Manga Discord, the Special Grade chat. So go ahead and link your Patreon account to your Discord account, and you'll automatically get that role. And you can have this, special grade chat where we can just, exclusively, intimately shoot the shit, talk about the chapters, talk about whatever you want. So yeah, hit us up there.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, should we get into the chapters? What'd you think about this week?
Everything was really good. We got Jigokuraku coming to an end, so we got some big feels there. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Undead Unluck is top tier, per usual, and the other two, of course, are really good as well. Yeah, so everything really good. Good. No, very excited for this episode, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's get into Phantom Seer, Chapter 19, A Real Conversation. And obviously, we start off the chapter here with Kanzaki getting his arm burned off and kind of get this explicit confirmation that this was the group's plan this entire time. This was not, Aibetsu going rogue or anything. And it's good to get a confirmation. I think it was pretty clear last chapter as we were already kind of discussing it, but
Yeah, definitely. You obviously don't think that Iori is that ruthless to kill people, know? And even though he said that, it's like, hey, who said anything about killing, well, this is pretty much like worse than killing him, right? It's stealing his purpose or his gift from God or whatever.
Right. So I actually had a kind of like Persona vibes. Like, I know you've never played Persona 5 or whatever, but like in that, like, you're kind of like thieves and you're like trying to steal, quote unquote, the hearts of bad people, right? So like they have like a shitty heart, that's why they're bad, so you're trying to steal it from them. And when he said like it's like killing his heart, you know what I mean? It's like a mental attack, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, it is.
Attack his arm that he loves so much to really, really fuck with him emotionally and mentally. That's pretty badass by itself for sure.
Well, yeah, and that almost kind of seems like the theme of this entire chapter almost, because I mean, obviously Kanzaki's trying to demoralize them with like, hey, this is all your fault that she's dying. And Tsurugi, like, hey, if you would have just let me control her, or I guess she'd have been fine, whatever. I don't know. Right. But like even Kurose, when you see him get pissed here, the fucking the hammer fist, the backhand punch, bro. That punch is meant to demoralize people, right? Like he's like, we're done talking to you. I have no more time for you. Like that. It just seems like that is really kind of the theme of this chapter, and it was explored in a couple of ways. It felt really good. You got a lot of ups and downs here with those feelings. So that was really good, and also the disintegration barrier channeling time being slow as fuck was really good for balance, right?
Yes.
Like for this, and that's why obviously you had the whole ruse of what they were doing, because she needed that channeling time. Hey, Iori and Kurose bought time for me in order to do this.
Right.
So, and we also get to see that it was difficult to create outside of special areas, which is the training area and that makes that scene make more sense back then too, how Yayoi is just transferring Riku, teleporting her in from the special space, fully beamed up, ready to go. Sure. It makes sense why that was so powerful at the time now, So yeah, it's almost like the barrier doesn't have too much of a limit as long as she has all the time in the world. Spirit bomb, right? She can sit there for 8 episodes. If she can sit there for 8 episodes, it's gonna kill you, right? Like, no matter who you are.
Like, okay. I didn't think about Spirit bomb. That's awesome. I was actually wondering, like, because they mentioned like, yes, special areas is where the the barrier can actually be charged relatively quickly. And yeah, they do show they show 2 scenes here. This is on page 9, where like one of them is the scene where she, enveloped the 3 beckoning hands, and the other is the training room, obviously. Now you brought up a very interesting idea that like Yayoi did obviously teleport her from the training room to this Senjudoji space or whatever. But I guess I was wondering, like, is it kind of like phantom spaces? Does that qualify as a space where it works better? And so like the training room was one, one, and Senjudoji space is a different one, right? Maybe.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense too. And it would, anytime you're like within a similar like element in the environment, again, I mean, still kind of like Spirit Bomb, right? Pulling from nature or whatever your environment to, and I know that's not really what's happening with the disintegration beam, but really kind of the same concept. I'm in this area that's letting me use this ability the same way. I don't actually think she's pulling energy from the space, but maybe she is.
Right.
Hard to say at this point, but yeah, I mean, there's just pretty good explanations of abilities across the board on this chapter. None of them felt too dumb. Like, and they're all through inner monologues too, which we kind of talk about, like how you get your information. Is it going to be through inner monologue, or is there going to be a like narrator explaining? There's no narrator in the series really.
Right.
And I always think that the narrator is the better way to go, because it can get weird sometimes if everything's through inner monologue, but it didn't feel like that in this case. It's like, okay, let's explain it makes sense for them to think, okay, this is what's happening, because it's like the people that are saying the thing or are that are having the inner monologues, like Riku is the one, like the fire is making the shadow darker and bigger, like it makes sense for her to kind of analyze what's going on in that situation. Right. And then even Kurose doing his katon, he's almost done with it or whatever on 12. Shadow Boy's shadow meld lets him touch another person's consciousness through their overlapping shadows, and now and he kind of goes through like the rest of it. So it makes sense that those people would think about those things, and I always think that that's something that I just kind of keep an eye on it, because sometimes it feels like, hey, this person, why are they even thinking this at this point? But like, that's why I just like the narrator option better normally.
But I totally agree that in this specific chapter, I did not think it felt weird for it to be inner monologue. Like, as you say, it was exactly the kind of people that would say these things. And obviously, like Kurose and Iori have a history, right? They know of each other. They've obviously worked together in the past, so he's obviously seen Iori's ability before. I going back a little bit, I actually love this interaction with Kurose doing fire formation and to make the shadows bigger and darker or whatever. Like, darker, and at first I was like, darker, like, I don't know, I just like had it flipped around my brain. I was like, no, shouldn't it be like brighter? But like, no, like the fire is brighter. Yeah. Therefore, any shadows created from it would be darker and bigger.
Yeah, they're so deeper and casted. Yeah. And it's like how Iori's like the illustration around how Iori's shadows all the way are. And like, it just really, I feel like even just how fire flows and how the shadows flow just really work together. It's just really cool animate or illustrated that way.
For sure.
And I like that Iori, I mean, I'm still so interested to see like an entire encasing of shadow on him, because it keeps coming to Sasuke, it keeps but it don't envelop yet. Right. So
that's gonna be like the super badass, like he goes berserker or whatever, right? When it goes all over his body.
Yeah, which we're probably a little ways from that. This feels like a fairly longer ongoing manga, right? That at the pace that it's going so far, right?
It didn't like 7 chapters ago, right? Like 7 chapters ago,
exactly.
Like, my god, like how long is this going to be? And now it's like, okay, now we're getting more into a standard pace or whatever, like a slow, nice, explaining abilities and building the world and building the bad guys and stuff. So it's like, okay, this is feeling a lot better now for sure.
Yep, definitely. And how about the double spread here? Of course, it's fan servicey, but if you kind of ignore that part, look at the dispersion of her like phantom that has the like weasel, the Kamataichi weasel in it. Like that's really fucking cool. Like I really like that. And then even still here on this kind of this after like the double spread, those bars there, like do you see, are those to like symbolize like we're coming down from the climax of this arc or this fight or whatever, like
it is interesting that like normally the bars, as we see in a lot of manga, is time has passed, right? But it is interesting that the bars also, they're not just, vertical bars. They change in height as well. Yeah. It's like, and I think that's a really good suggestion that it is denoting not just time has passed, but that we're coming down from a very stressful situation into everything's okay now. Like there's no more battle, it's post battle now. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. And if that is what what the intention was, like, I think that's pretty cool. Like, I don't feel like I've ever seen that before, in this way. I mean, sure, there's different ways that can be shown, like coming down from, an intense situation that mangaka have done other ways. But yeah, I think it's really cool because it's also gradient too, right? Like light to dark, because that's like the time changing too, like you get both there. You get the time with the come down from the climax of this fight here.
Yep. So, sun is setting or whatever. Yeah.
Sun is setting. Yep. So yeah, it's really cool. I like that a lot. A lot.
And I really like the conversation between Tsumuji and Iori. I thought he did a very good job, and of course, like they end it with some humor or whatever, right? He says like it's such a nice thing, and I know I love these panels on page 17 where he's like, oh, I finally felt like I had a real conversation, and Aibetsu's like Iori, and then he's like, that was annoying, and she's like Iori, like
no, I love that. It's like, hey, I'm gonna say some really cool shit. Everybody's gonna love me for a second, but he's like, nah, fuck all that shit. I'm just kidding. Like, not even just kidding, just like,
but also that was really stressful.
Yeah. I like that it's, you keep keeping that around with him because it's like, he's eventually going to obviously shed that, emotional defense, basically, that he has, that's due to Senju and his previous beckoning hand he was in love with, probably.
Right.
So yeah, I like that he's keeping that for now. He should keep that for a good while, and then obviously he'll always kind of keep it, like, because even when he does fully like come out of his shell and like give you that whatever the fuck happened, you're gonna get that information. I'm sure he'll for comedic use, it's going to be used forever, but for sure. But yeah. But how about this Kondo new character from Korekai coming in here? It's really cool that so then when she says, then I'll skip that part and explain that we've been looking for this man basically forever, right? But I love we'll skip that part because it's like, obviously you could just skip that part and you not have that there at all, and we don't know. But then you think like, this information can't be too far in the horizon, you would think, because it's like otherwise you kind of lose the luster of the mystery, I guess, right now. So I feel like we will get whatever that was left out very soon, and maybe we won't.
Yeah, and what I think is like incredibly interesting here with this scene is that I tell me if you agree with this, right? But I'm pretty sure that Kurose and Kondo are intentionally holding back information from Iori and Aibetsu, right? Because she's like, should I explain, right? Like, I could literally lay it all out right now. And Kurose is like, sure. But he didn't just say sure, right? He said sure, since Shadow Boy and Riku are here. And then she's like, okay. So it's like a subtle, like, she got what he was, the hint,
That's
right? Like, don't
tell
them. Don't tell them, right?
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but I definitely feel you. I agree that is, because if you just say, go ahead, then you go ahead.
Then why would you say, then I'll skip, right? Like, no, the skip is like, there was a hint. There was a hint there from Kurose, like, don't tell them X. Yeah. And who knows why, if that's like factions working against each other, the information is very expensive and powerful, so you don't want to keep it. Or is it something distressing? Like, was it bad news or something? I'm leaning more towards the competing factions thing, honestly. I think it would be more interesting that way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, competing factions, is always the best option for me. Really, it's like, okay, we know that there's a bunch of different factions of shamans. Is that what we're calling them in this series? I don't know, exorcists, whatever the hell. I don't know, whatever. It was shamans? Shamans, I forgot, but whatever. Though, with all these, we're going to get deeper into there's going to be other factions we're going to see, like this Korekai is not the only faction of we're going to get our big round table of shaman leaders at some point, I'm sure. And if the other groups aren't interesting, it just always feels like a waste to even like introduce them, right? I just hate like introductions of big round tables of important people that you don't explore at all. So like I really hope that's the case. But I mean, it definitely, like you said, could be your other explanation of like this is just too crazy for them to know the real secret yet.
Too heavy right now. Yeah.
Or even Yayoi told him like, hey, don't tell him X, you know, part of this. Sure. Yeah, like even Yayoi is not letting him in on it, you know.
Okay.
So
I can see that too. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. But conceiving hand, huh?
Yeah.
Is that meant to create more beckoning hands, or is it meant to just create more like hand users, other types of hands?
Sure.
You know, like now that we have a conceiving hand and a beckoning hand, and we have Senju Doji, who's just a big ass fucking hand monster. Like, I assume there's other hand classes now. There's not just going to be these two classes of hands at this point. So, but conceiving hand, you know, sounds like something that you would probably keep locked up and use to, you know, make more army or whatever, right? Like you're just going to produce more hand users, beckon it, whatever. So,
or maybe like I was thinking hybrids, like building up a hybrid phantom army kind of thing, where Tsurugi was like maybe the first of what would be many, or maybe she's not the first and she's just the first that we've encountered from Kanzaki or whatever. And that they can make hybrids. But yeah, like it is interesting to know like what are they conceiving? And I think your intuition of there being more than two types, I think it's a very good intuition, because like you don't like add a type system to have two types. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't really make much sense generally. There have to be at least three, I think. So that'll be super interesting. And like this dude being like super old, and it was interesting. One of the wording here, right? Like on page 19, Kondo is saying like he was given Senju Doji's arm. Yeah. And just like the singular aspect, Senju Doji's arm singular, right? Like very interesting, and like, but she's made of arms, and the arm was made of arms, and like, is it? So I'm like really wondering, like, is it the arm? Like, there can only be two people with this, and now one is gone, so Senju Doji is like permanently injured. That doesn't seem like it, but to phrase it that way, like I would have said like a Senju Doji arm, right? Like implying there could be more than that.
An arm of Senju Doji, yeah. I think I would just have to assume that it's like, I mean, maybe not like translation error, I guess, but just the way that it's presented here to kind of feel like that. But like, I just don't see how that could really be one of two arms on an arm monster. And not only that, but like, I mean, you could be right, like that like an arm made of arms, if you give a whole arm that is completely made of arms, and that is, you know, effectively 20% of your body or whatever, you know, whatever number you want to put on it. And that, I don't know, maybe it's some kind of like transfer of power, like whatever, of energy. So it's like, okay, Kanzaki's arm has been burnt to shit and it doesn't work anymore and it's lost all its power. So Senju Doji just gets the ability back, power back, I guess. You know, it could be something
maybe
like that.
Maybe he's like temporarily weakened, but will eventually regrow it and then be back to full strength. Yeah,
something like that. But yeah, hard to say. I mean, I don't know. I just still feel like, I mean, like, where do we go from here? Obviously, it's going to be like a completely different arc, I would assume. But like, do we go and re-explore Senju Doji some more, or we do something completely different after this? It's like it feels like if Senju Doji is a true big bad that's going to be, you know, in this forever and ever, then we don't explore Senju Doji in the next arc here. We go do something different and explore the world more, new concepts. I don't know, abilities, shamans, whatever, something new. Because, I mean, everything kind of points to Senju Doji kind of being a big bad, but that doesn't mean that you can't work up 100 chapters to a big bad and then find out there's 10 of them at around, you know, in Akatsuki that we've been calling them or whatever. But
and you can totally do that. And I think you could even shelve Senju Doji right now, right? And then have like an arc with like a lower level villain, right? That's like a little worse, like say like what was that dude in Hero, like the Gentle, right? Just like like put aside Shigaraki, put aside All for One for a little bit. We'll do Gentle for a little bit. Okay, now Gentle's done, captured. Okay, now go back to the regular thing. So you can always like have like a little like a one-off arc, as long as the writing's good enough. You can do whatever you want, right? So
and I mean, even when you do have a one-off arc, you could still pepper in important information within that arc. That's still like, even though the you know, threat amounts to nothing. Literally, at the end of the day, they'll never reappear. It's never going to be you're never going to really explore that character probably ever again. But that still doesn't mean it can't introduce like concepts with the energy system or other stuff like that would be important and carry on throughout the story. So yeah, definitely.
Well, good stuff. Is that all? Have anything more for Phantom Seer?
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. That's all I had as well. All right. So let's get into Kaiju number 8, chapter 23. And we start off here with a direct interaction between Kafka and Mina, and she's officially promoting him to Defense Force officer. I really like this interaction for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always nice to see the like tough love to spur on, your whoever you care about, because that's, like what's going on here. Obviously, like you're nowhere near close to fighting by my side yet. Is not meant to demoralize him. It's meant to encourage him. Hey, get good, buddy. Like you still got a long way to go. Don't fucking celebrate too much now. Like let's see you step it up. Keep it going.
I like that she remembers him. Like we get confirmation of that, and it's like yes, like she does remember. Like awesome. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And that panel on 4 really did have me shook for a second. The Kaiju number 8. And it's like it's weird that like it just I don't know. I felt like it was well done enough with a small little panel there where I always say like I try so hard to not even look at the next panel to not spoil myself, much less the whole next page. Yeah. So like I was like, oh shit, and then it's like, and Kaiju number 9's incident, blah blah blah. And I was just like, oh, well done, you got me. I was
gonna really like. Yeah. No, it's really good. I related to that, and also later in the chapter, we're not quite there yet, but like I feel like Kafka is hilariously skittish about all this stuff. Like I feel like he's almost outing himself all the time, right? Like last chapter we were talking, like the dude's like, yeah, Kaiju number 8 was fucking awesome. He was beating the shit out of this other Kaiju, and he's like, ooh, so I'm so happy to hear that. It's like, why are you happy to hear that? Remember? And later it's like Hoshina like pointing the sword at him, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I was gonna fucking kill that guy. And he's like, crap. And it's like, why do you care? Like, what are you so afraid of exactly? It's just hilarious to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was just really cool and funny that both Hoshina and Mina both scare him in one chapter. It's just a good gag that will, I'm sure, also continue, where it fits well with his character, right? Like he's not, it's funny that you could be so smart and still be kind of like dense in like a people person way, like that kind of thing. I really can't see Kafka being like some super, like tactical, I guess. I mean, tactical is maybe not the right word, but hiding his true intention type of guy, right? Like he's just tactful is a very good, he's an enhancer type, really, like if you give him the personality test. So like it doesn't make any sense for him to, tactfully withhold the information he needs to do. So like it'll of course be a gag because he can't be found out, which it's funny that the other characters are getting, like we saw last chapter, have been brought in on the gag, because you're gonna have Reno and Kikaru, both obviously they know, and they're trying like shut up, bro. What the fuck's wrong with you? Pow, beating him up. Like I just love that. It's funny as hell.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that like he is an enhancer type, and I do agree he is pretty much an enhancer type. But it is interesting to see him in this next scene. He's hitting the books. Like a Gone ain't hitting no books. You know what I mean? Like he does very much have an enhancer personality.
Type. He's an emitter type. Yeah, because emitter is very similar to enhancer, but they're still kind of smart, right? Like they're a Leorio. They still get mad, they still yell, they still kind of wear their heart on their sleeve. Yeah. But they are a little bit more, tactful. So like maybe or smarter, I guess I would say, or more, educated. Sure. And I mean he's clearly been. I mean this is what Hoshina is talking about when he's like, act like I trust you. Like I really only trust 1% of you, but that's still saying your 1% that you bring out of your suit really doesn't matter. It's not this. That's not what I'm trusting you. Like that's not the faith that I have in you. I have faith like what you're doing up here, like your mind power and like your deduction skills with Kaiju and having you on the battlefield as an asset. As long as you don't die, as long as you got 1%, you got a couple percent, something to keep your ass alive on the battlefield. I'm cool. I just need you to figure shit out for me, basically. And I mean I know it's maybe a little bit more than that, but like that's just all I just loved their interaction there, and of course, yoking them up for a little bit, like, well, you think I really trust your 1%, bitch? Like,
what I was really thinking during this scene where Hoshina's like, explaining how frustrated he was from the battle with Kaiju number 8 and how he's like really wanting to improve. I was like, damn, like it sucks that Kafka has to keep this hidden. Like, wouldn't it be sick if he's like, yo, I'm gonna level with you right now. I'm Kaiju number 8. Let's train. Mm-hmm. Like, let's train together. Like, I'll fight you. Just don't kill me, please. Or maybe go ahead and try, right? But then, like, it would like level up Hoshina to have such an immense training partner, right? I really want that to happen at some point, because obviously someday everyone's gonna find out, right? You can't keep a secret like this secret for very long. So it'll be interesting to see, like, what will the interaction between everyone be once we do know this? Like, will he be like on a special squad of like with Mina, say, right? And you're the really badass people, or like, will he still be in Hoshina's squad, as like a special agent kind of guy? Like, we need you to go to the boss and beat the shit out of it, right? It'd be interesting.
Yeah, and it's cool to see that, I mean, we kind of already knew this, that Hoshina was the one that pushed Kafka to get promoted.
Yes,
obviously he's, speaking on his behalf, how valuable his experience really is with Kaiju dismantling, that makes him even a good special forces agent or whatever. And like going into that to see that they were both training in their own ways, like they're simultaneously training. He's training, hitting the books. Koshina's in the fucking danger room or whatever the hell. Fighting. And it's just super cool to see, them do that simultaneously. And what was awesome about Hoshina's training is he's doing imagery training, right? Like, and he's copying everything that he did, and you get to see when Hoshina's talking about, hey, if I would have used like skill number 5 skill number 6 instead of skill number 5. Where does he say that? I could have made him into mincemeat right here. Yeah, and it's like he is using it's fifth form. So what did they say? They called him skill number 6 instead of number 5, but they're not skills, they're forms. There's different forms of fighting style. Like I looked up like what he's done, and on page 8 is exactly that 5th form, Mist Strike, because it's 2 high slashes that are supposed to be a feint for him to do a 3rd surprise low slash. So it's super tight to see that he's actually doing for real doing the same ability that he's talking about on here. And what was really, really cool too is when I was looking up his abilities, the only other form we've seen is first form, Empty Strike, which is Mutoryu, no sword style, basically. And I was like, I don't remember that happening, and I didn't, really find it. I kind of thumbed back, and I didn't really find it. I was just trying, but I just looking it up, wiki or whatever, seeing just to kind of remind myself what he's done. And so after this one, I am, going to go back and find where he did that, because I just hyped to see his sword style. Like in how many other swordsmen are there going to be in this series? I assume there'll be some, but like, not a lot. And we've talked about the different weapons that people could use, because Mina has that, weird, I don't know, shovel, axe, spear, whatever thing. Right. I don't know, pole arm of some kind. so yeah. Just definitely hyped to see the, taijutsu users grow and use their abilities. So
Hell yeah. And then, definitely the big epic shit at the end of the chapter, 8,000 meters above Tachikawa base, begin descend, oh my god, like flying kaiju, this looks so sick, or like dragons.
Yeah, and it's funny, I was reading this, and my wife comes out, and she's like, hey, that's Frieza, isn't it? I was like, it's got 1 horn, but it looks like first form evolved Frieza with just, one horn instead of 2 horns instead, but like it's always cool. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just always going to go back. Like, and my wife doesn't read manga, but she's watched a lot of anime with me, and it's just funny. Like, she just comes by in passing, like, "Hey, is that Frieza?" I'm like, "Dragon Ball's been over for." I mean, I don't know, Super's still going, but
there was a new chapter like 3 days ago.
Yeah, I said Super's not for me. I tried.
But so I think this new kaiju, I think we can call him kaiju number 10 for now or whatever. Though obviously he definitely could be like somewhere 1 through 7, and just we've not have him named yet. But I think it's safe to say kaiju number 10. So I think there's 2 really interesting things about this dude, right? One, he has a horn, he has a tail, just like the flying kaiju. They have a horn, they have a tail, right?
Yeah.
This reminds me of kaiju number 9, who had that flap top, right? And I'm pretty sure I commented that like, oh, he has a flat top, and there's this mushroom kaiju, right? This shelf mushroom kaiju.
I remember that.
And that dude could like control them. He could control them. He could like make a wall out of them. I bet you that's how all these numbered kaiju work, right? Like they have a type of kaiju that they like control, like fishmen in One Piece, right? And so this dude can control these dragons. I bet he can fly. I bet this dude can literally grow wings and fly. Easy. No joke.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. It's, man, to think of like his evolved form, because I mean they changed forms and stuff. You saw how like the kaiju number 9 grew more arms and stuff, and even though he was like a shapeshifter type, so maybe you could chalk it up to that. Sure. I agree with you. I'm pretty sure they're all fairly shapeshifter types, right? Like his is just like actual human copy. Like he could copy and steal DNA, and his is more advanced than everybody else. I don't think that this guy's going to form into people. Maybe he will, but I do think that he's full dragon form. This is like his base form. He's just getting started. Obviously, we haven't seen what this guy's real form looks like. I bet he's gonna big dragon it out, Hulk it out.
Dude, that would be so sick. I did not think about that at all. I just figured like he would be humanoid like mostly the whole time, but maybe grow like some wings. But like if he was really gonna like get into like a dragon form, get into all fours, use his tail as weapon more and shit, like that'd be so tight.
Well, and we've talked a lot about how kaiju number 8 is definitely a reference to Godzilla, right? Like this is all like Godzilla lore, basically, kind of, or used as a base for the story. And this dude looks like what Godzilla would look like if it was made kind of nowadays. Like if you took old school, the very first Godzilla was like kind of bulky, and I mean obviously it was a puppet, right? Like or whatever, but like. This is exactly what he looked like. This tail, this leg, like everything. Like this looks like a dragon kaiju, like fucking Godzilla is, and he could possibly turn into an actual Godzilla. Is what I was thinking with this. And I just can't wait to see like kaiju v kaiju, big kaiju battle, right?
Yes.
Like it's gonna happen. There's
that's so true. It is gonna happen for sure. Like if you have giant kaiju, like obliterating towns, just like in the Godzilla movies, right? Like eventually Godzilla becomes the good guy, defending Japan from these space monsters that are also giant, and like kaiju battles. Yes, give it to me. Oh my god, ready for that. Ready for that.
So maybe Kafka one day can turn into a giant kaiju. Who knows?
Oh man, like that just has like such the potential to go like the Studio Trigger, like Gurren Lagann, these big giant flesh mechas and shit like that. Like, oh man.
But I would love if Kafka could he stays the same size, but he's fighting those, and he's just jumps, and their big, huge, giant fist and his tiny fist clash. Like that'd be the best way to do it. That'd be so sick. I'm sure we'll get that too, But even if kaiju number 8, if Kafka can grow, I'm sure we'd still get his regular size fighting some giant head-to-head clash type shit, So hell yeah, pretty hyped for that.
Good shit. All right. Yeah. Well, that's all I had for kaiju number 8. How about you?
Yeah, that's it. I'm good.
Awesome. All right, then let's get into Undead Unluck, Chapter 47, Akira Kuno. And we start with a flashback, an Ano-un flashback. My God, this flashback slapped so hard. What did you think about it?
Oh yeah. There's so much to digest in it too. Like it's crazy. Like and what I always thought, like negating your own existence. Like you think about like you're just not there, nobody knows you, right? It makes me think about Foucault saying like you only truly die when people stop remembering you, right? Like it really, really hits, and I don't want to go too into like I kind of want to save what I got a little bit for later on kind of how that kind of ties together, but like that's just like what rang true to me, like I could just hear that in my mind, like damn, this is. And obviously we know negator stories are all tragic because of their negator ability, and obviously Ano-un is no exception to that. So yeah, this was just perfectly executed. I felt so bad. I just, man, the mom, and I was hurt. I was definitely hurt. So
Well, yeah, let's go through the chapter, at a high level, then we can dig deep with some theory. So under here, like in the next page 2 and 3 or whatever, we're getting confirmation that under, like, what their motivation is, right? And so that they're trying to get the information about the future that is not published in the manga, right? That is undrawn, unpublished by Ano-un. So that was interesting to find out the answer to or whatever. What I really loved about, like, obviously then it goes like immediately back into the flashback or whatever. But like Rip is like what good is gonna come out of saving them or whatever, right? This is on page 3 or whatever. And then we get this flashback where it's like, and I just love to skip to the end of the flashback or whatever, where Ano-un is like, these people are the reason I'm alive, right? The story that came into Ano-un's mind upon touching G-Liner. The story was so powerful that even being in this shitty situation of no one can know you at all anymore, including your mother, like it gave him the drive to fucking still live or whatever. It's like, no, I'm gonna protect them, like, with my life, because they gave me my life. You know what I mean? Oh, it just hits so hard.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful that he right away is like saying, I'm not saving them for what they will do in the future. I'm saving them for what they did in the past, whether they knew they did it or not. Right? Yes. Like it's just it's very, very poetically ended. This chapter is beautiful for that.
Nicely said. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you get to the firm, like, dialogue compulsory activation type. That, okay, this is going to happen to me. There's going to be a rule that I need to establish or to do or whatever, complete in order for my negator ability to turn off, basically. And I mean, we get basically how that happens throughout this chapter, kind of slowly. And Ano-un Akira has to become Ano-un, right?
Yes.
Has to become the pen name, has to become somebody else, cannot be who they are. If at any time, Akira Kuno is who he is, right? He's erased. His existence is erased.
Yes.
So yeah, it was really powerful to kind of like go through this, and then you see, like, I can do this as Ano-un. Like, when that panel hit, that dialogue box hit, I was like, it just, I don't know, all clicked. You see, like, I don't know, space and time go by, like, yes, I'm smart, I figured it out.
Like, it Galaxy
Because
brain.
at first I'm just like I get this, but like I don't know, just kind of thinking back before, because it's like Ano-un snuck up on Andy twice, turned the power off and on, right? So it's like, when I was thinking about that, I'm just like, I don't know, it took me a little bit of time to like actually piece the puzzle together on this one. I had to like read the chapter like a couple times, and that second time going through on that bubble, I'm like, yes, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me.
The first time you read it, I think when you first see the Andy Ano-un interaction, you assume, like, okay, this person is a negator, and it's not a compulsory type, right? It's an activated type. I forget the word they use for activated type, but the non-compulsory type.
Non-compulsory, right?
But then it's like, no, it is compulsory. But then it's like, what? Like, how do you turn it on and off? And as you said, like, you turn it on and off by the ability is who you are does not exist. Yes. Well, how do you get around it? You be someone else, right? Like, just so great. I thought there was actually a potential, this could be like a real part of the magic system, or it could be just very poetic. But like, we get this text about G-Liner, the artifact, the pen artifact or whatever, right? And it's like, the first to touch it can see the past and future events of the current time loop in its entirety. And at that moment, all the memories of the time loop flooded into Akira's mind. And also at that moment, that's when they became a negator. It just seems like too coincidental that those events are like not linked. And here's like the poetic explanation I came up with in terms of what's the relationship. So basically, the artifact turned him into someone who knows everything, right? Knows 100% of everything. Therefore, like, what would you negate? Well, he can't be known, right? Like, you know everything, therefore no one can know you. It's like, it's hard for me to, you see what I'm getting at?
I definitely got, and so maybe mine's not as deep as that, but I was feeling like artifacts have a will of their own, it seems, and are intentionally finding the negators that they want, or that can best utilize them. Like, so you have unrepair with blades, right? You're kicking Blade Runner out on unrepairable fucking cuts that you're going to get. Like, it just fits too perfectly to give a mangaka a pen that gives you the ability to write the greatest story of all time, right? Gotcha. Like, it's these artifacts are finding who they want to use them, it feels like, you know? And
it did seem that way. It did seem that way, right? Like, why did this pen just appear here out of nowhere? It
just appears, and it says the first person to touch it, so nobody's ever touched it before. It just appeared on the ground in a populated city, and nobody's ever touched it before. You know, like, it doesn't make any sense, you know, other than by some maybe divine, you know, maybe God is trying to intentionally make things harder for himself. He's like, here, let's make sure this artifact falls in this person's hand, and this artifact, maybe that's what's happening, or maybe
interesting.
Well, it's like, because you know the Apocalypse is an artifact technically, right? The book is an artifact, and so it's like that one's definitely sentient as fuck, right? And it's like, so maybe, you know, they're not actually like have like full consciousness, and they're not going to sprout eyes and mouth and start talking to you, but they are alive. They do have a will of their own,
and some do have eyes and mouths. Like Clothy's another one.
Oh yeah, Clothy too. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, definitely.
I'm pretty sure it's an artifact and that might be an Uma actually. That one might be an Uma.
You're right. That is an Uma. I'm pretty confident that's an Uma. But I was gonna say, Clothy finding fucking Andy would be another great example of an artifact finding the person that it should use, right? But that if it's an Uma, no, it's not the case.
I think it's an Uma. But the like. The thing I was talking about, like, in terms of, like, you know everything, therefore you can't be known. I was like, all right, but then what would that mean for Andy, say? You can't be killed because why? Because he, in a previous loop, like, used an artifact that, I don't know, ended the loop, like, killed everyone. Like, he killed everyone, therefore he can't die? Something like that, you know what I mean? Like, but then what would that mean for Fuko? Like, and what would be, like, it doesn't seem like you need an artifact related to become a negator, but like there's obviously something in the rules that is they're related in some way in some cases.
Well, and I'm pretty confident there's dialogue at some point that like a negator ability manifests around like young teenage years. So like it I won't say coincidence that Ano-un becomes a negator here, but like I'm saying, like if the artifact somehow has a will of its own, didn't appear there until the exact moment that Ano-un would become a negator and can fully actually use this ability. Sure. So maybe Ano-un technically became a negator seconds before, you know, touching the pen.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yes.
You know. So yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. There's so many mysteries in this fucking story, you know, to try to unravel here. But yeah, I mean, I love the name G-Liner. I think that's going to be my new rap name or my barber name if I start, you know, lining people up or something. You know, that's a good one. But
it is a cool name.
Yeah, like I love how Ano-un like steals a bite of that dude's burger.
Yo, I literally was going to comment the exact same thing. I love that. Yeah.
And maybe steal something from the old man to eat right after that.
Well, it's time has passed, right? So in that middle panel where like he like steals a bite from the dude, then like you can see the next panel down, their hair is longer, they're bigger.
It's grown,
I think but you can see next to the box, right? This is page 13. Next to that dialogue box, they didn't run away from their abilities. There is a snatch, like exactly, bubble, right? Like so, they definitely did snatch. Like a
something from that old man or old woman or whatever. And I don't know. That's hilarious. That just seems so Ano-un too. Like it's like so like the character that we know right now, and it's like when you see obviously a very young Ano-un like going through their life, you know, it's just like, hey, it's just a kid who he loves manga, he loves drawing and stuff. So it's like, you know, just any kind of really, you know, optimistic kid, like all kids usually are, right? For you know, and then just kind of develop into the Ano-un that you see today, missing one arm and then now missing another arm, like, and Ano-un is still just not phased. Like I don't know. It just feels exactly perfect for the character to do stuff like that. You know, like I loved it.
So go for it.
Well, I was going to ask, just talking about the arms thing real quick. I mean, does Ano-un's negator ability get changed to unarmed or what? You know, like, is that the new?
now that they have 0 arms or whatever. Is it 0 arms now? Like at the end? Yep. At the end of the chapter, he only has 0 arms. So I was actually gonna comment on still in the flashback. So page 14, bottom panel. Like, stop me if you were gonna say something about this, but I think this panel is actually really interesting because in this panel, bottom panel of page 14, Ano-un is like saying like, all right, I'm gonna fight with my pen. I'm gonna make my mom's wish for me come true, so that one day she can learn of the brave actions of the people who taught me this lesson. And here we have the entirety of the Union, all of the Union,
or of the Union,
including Billy.
Billy and Gina.
But there's no, and behind Shen is that other on the first one that they killed.
Unbreakable or
No, not Unbreakable. That's
no, it's Void. Unavoidable. Void. Unavoidable. Yeah.
Right. But like, I find this very interesting because like he obviously really likes Rip as a character, right? Like he was super stoked, about the character design of Rip or whatever. But Rip's not here. Like Under's not here. Why is Billy here? Right? To me, that almost makes me think like, and I guess I don't think that this is true. And I think you can obviously just argue like, okay, this panel is just meant to be the Union, right? The Union are the good guys, whatever. And at one point, Billy was in the Union. But wouldn't it be crazy if Billy was a double agent? Like he actually is still good, and they're doing this entire ploy to trick Under into something, right? Like that would be wild.
Yeah, definitely. And it could also just be the fact that, I mean, they're both trying to defeat God, right? Like at the end of the day, all these people are whether Billy doesn't give a shit if he has to nuke fucking countries and he's a piece of shit about it now, which is maybe not very brave. I don't know. Hard to say with what the information that we have. Like, I don't know, maybe Billy is like, it's like, obviously torturing his soul to come up with this, like this is the only option, and maybe he was just playing it off as evil and cool at the time,
right?
And he actually really is as distraught and as torn up as anybody would be if they really had to come to the conclusion like, there's no way I can save this planet unless I basically nuke a continent. Like it's like, like maybe there is more to Billy that we'll see later, and that he is, technically having noble intentions, even though going about it the worst way, so
the ends justify the means kind of thing. Yeah,
definitely. Interpretation on ideologies, I guess, is always something that makes a lot of sense in this story, so I looked at it for a while, and I don't know why I felt like, okay, I see Billy right away. I didn't really notice Unavoidable, to be honest, but Gina I see right away, like jumping and flipping. It's just like Gina, I was just like, I don't know, like I thought a little bit about like, I mean, just negators in general too. It's like negators in general are brave to like fight through their whatever the trials and tribulations of being a negator, the hell basically that the negator ability puts the people through, once it manifests. So maybe it's just that, but yeah, I don't know. Man, the on page 17, what's in this monitor right here?
Oh, well, that's the live action of from you, or from to you from me, or whatever, the live action.
To you from me, yeah.
But I mean, now that you say that, I guess I wasn't necessarily thinking about the content of the screen. I got into saw it and I was like, okay, that's live action. But now that now it's like there's someone and someone's head on the ground. Is that what we're looking at here?
Well, it's like I mean, it looks like a body.
Body,
From reaching out
from water, like a pool of water, and they're like on a beach or something.
It looks like the shore. They're sitting on the shore, like, and I really feel like this is some kind of Bishoujo, Bishon and Andy right here.
Yeah.
And Fuko, right? And when she still has her hair, so like her, I don't know, like washing in from the shore and grabbing onto Andy and him, basically. I don't know. It's hard to say, hard to interpret like the intention here, but it feels deeper. And you want to know what else it felt like to me too? Like Denji and Retsei, after the end of their arc, where they're on the beach, and I was like, hey man, that kind of looks like Denji too, you know?
It does, it does.
Yeah.
Wow, that's okay. That's really interesting.
Well, I was thinking like maybe it's a little homage since Chainsaw Man just ended, right? Like, or part 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, just kind of a double entendre, right? You know, two meaning thing there. But yeah, definitely I felt like it was very interesting. Yeah. But so let's see here. I mean, I guess we can kind of go to in the last panel too about the nurse giving the mom Ano Un's manga.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, just really like hammers it home. It's like if the mother ever associated anything with her son, it would disappear. This manga would disappear, right?
I also think that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if she somehow figured out this is my son's manga, like it would disappear, and everything associated to Ano Un would also disappear because now Ano Un is now they're the same person.
Yes.
At least in the mind of one person. That's all it takes, and that's obviously why Ano Un could never even show up in disguise to his mother, because you know like he can be nothing but Akira Kuno to his mother, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know, so yeah, it was just.
I was gonna say I would probably say that even if she guessed it could be Akira Kuno, she would have to know definitively. I think she'd have to know.
I agree.
You know, to trigger it.
Yeah, and see, it's like you can handle that so many ways. It's like she could literally read the text and figure it out, and just somehow something within the text tips her off to make her confident that that's the truth. Yeah. Opposed to her having a hunch the entire time, like this seems just oddly familiar. I feel like this is something my son would write, you know, and man, this just reminds me of my son. I just love it so much. And she keeps saying that's not enough. Yeah. But if for one little piece of that manga tipped her off, she for sure was, no, I'm sure this is my son's manga. Boom. And it's like you'd have to think like everything that ever done basically becomes erased. So like the help and I don't want to get into some crazy paradox here of like the help that's been given to like Andy and Fuko now being erased, because that's too much. I don't think we would, but just like I don't know, just we've drawn planes that we've jumped into, right? You know, and I don't know if that plane is
now I would say that I don't think it would erase past events.
Okay.
Because the mother still knows her son exists, right? She's going to the police, like, I can't find my son. He isn't, the concept of him isn't unknowable. It's just that he is unknowable in like the present moment. So I think you could probably say that like, I guess I would believe that the manga would disappear, but I don't believe that like him helping Andy and Fuko would undo.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I see what you mean by like the paradox over.
And I wouldn't say what they did in the Soul Calibur space would be undone. I'm just thinking like more about, and I'm pretty sure Ano can only draw like one thing manifests at a time, and if he draws something else, that other thing disappears. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So then, I was thinking like they drew a plane and jumped in the plane and flew away and then parked here basically. And is the plane still sitting outside? No, it's not, because other things have been drawn. You know, I was thinking like if things still existed out there, would those be wiped away? But I think you're kind of right here, because it's also like it looks like the mother doesn't really notice the shoes on the ground, but those are clearly, you know, Ano Un's shoes on page 8. And so, like, if everything pertaining to Ano Un's existence, you know, is erased, you'd think, like, shoes and just little possessions of his would also be erased, too. So maybe not. Maybe that's a clue. I don't know. Maybe that's the development of the power later. I don't know. Like, maybe, you know, the negator ability gets stronger and things actually, you know, do. Hard to say. So hard to say right now.
Yeah, I think the shoes being there, it's hard for me to say, like, one way or another if that, like, really means anything, because, like, you know, She could like see the shoes, assume he's there. She's calling to him. Like the ability is active. Like there's no way he can contact her, but like she could still see the shoes being there and just assume he's home. And then as I said before, like she goes to the police about it, right? Like it isn't as though he's removed from reality. It's just that she can't interact with him. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, what do we think we see? I mean, is Ano drawing with his mouth now? You know, how do you your ability is completely taken if both your arms are gone now, right? Like, other than, I guess, drawing with your mouth. But I mean, hey, I have seen somebody write a check with their feet before on the internet, so.
This is like a minor. It's not that minor, or it's not that major of a spoiler or anything. But there is a very special manga to my heart. My favorite completed manga, Billy Bat, where main character is a mangaka or whatever. And let me just say that you do not need arms to draw manga or whatever. You could use your mouth, but definitely. So that's where I'm going with Ano Un here. The thing I want to say here on this last page. Ano Un is holding the card, Andy's card.
Yeah.
And I would actually I would go so far as to say, and tell me what you think about this, that Andy probably won't use the card anymore.
Yeah,
because
it's very possible.
Victor has already said, I'm not going to interfere anymore, right? You try it. You try your best. You go for it.
Yep.
So I bet half of the power boost from this Soul Calibur space, half the power boost is going to be obviously the memories, the time with Fuko that they spent together. Half the power boost is going to be Victor is not interfering anymore, and Andy can now constantly be without the card, having access to the full memory. Right? If you remember from the beginning of the manga, the card was holding back memory, so he wouldn't go insane. So he took it away to get more battle experience. Now he's going to be able to have full access to 100% of all of his battle experience, all of his know-how and knowledge and shit. Like, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and I'd love to see just like him using like different martial arts and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't have to actually use like, you know, blood propulsion to I mean, obviously he's going to against, you know, big, but I would just love to see like, you know, just that displayed in the facts, like, okay, let me use this style, and not like seriously like that's a thing, but just like him, you know, using other martial arts here than just, I mean, because it did feel like he was kind of using martial arts with the sword, right? Like with the jet propulsion sword, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, so like he has all that battle experience. He is like the god of victory technically, or Victor is, or whatever. And you know, I just assume that as like knowing every martial art in the world, right? And so it'd just be cool to like, it doesn't have to even be explained, just shown in panels, like just him doing some
and he's already said that like he has weapons caches all over the globe. So wherever he's at, he always has access to friends and weapons and stuff. So he's obviously been all around the world over his like hundreds, you know, 150 years or whatever of living or whatever. So that'd be so sick. And then we see on this page Fuko's head, and of course that's Fuko's soul. You know, when Ano Un used Soul Calibur on Fuko to extract her soul from her body, it kind of took her out in this kind of like chibi looking, you know, head or whatever, and then her body fell on the ground. So her body presumably is just on the ground, and she's about to be put back in or whatever. What else did you have? Anything else? Any crazy theories based on this stuff?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, it's just you know, putting the Ano Un's negator ability together was just big, and you know, just the fact that the card thing, I mean, that was pretty much the same thing, and then just the mom stuff really at the end is I wonder if we will ever see this mom again, you know, like is there, I mean, I guess that just depends like where we're going with Ano Un's character from here, you know, which is still basically almost the same question as like, how is he going to draw now? Or, you know, like what do we see next? Maybe, you know, Andy just is out here, easily bodies Rip, which Rip has a power down too, right? Like he's taking a power hit now that he's a kid for whatever reason. You know, I guess I don't remember exactly why that happened.
It was an artifact that was used to revive him that we don't know the full details of, but there was they mentioned some sort of artifact that did this or whatever. Probably reset his time or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. You'd think like Ano could have, you know, reattached the arm maybe by drawing or something, but like he would have did it the first time. The first arm got chopped off, and he just stood there and let that one and didn't care. Like, it's wild how he doesn't even flinch at nothing. And I mean, like, that fits for a lot of these negators, but like it's wild for the mangaka negator, right? To be so resilient to pain, right? Like,
well, I think part of it is because he knows he's not gonna die, or he knows that like his purpose in the loop is like to him this whole thing is fate. You know what I mean? Like he's already seen what's going to happen. So I think that's definitely part of it. I've as like a minor aside, like we live in Minnesota or whatever, and I've often said like I think a lot of people like don't like the cold because you go outside and you don't know, you have this thought in the back of your head that you don't actually know if you're gonna make it home alive because it's that cold, right? But like if you're used to it, if you're like, I know I'm gonna make it to the car, I know it's cold, but it's not that cold, like I'll live like this 30 seconds from my car to my house or whatever, right? So like I think knowing is half the battle, you know what I mean? Like so I think knowing that you're gonna live, I think that would give you definitely a boost in like confidence and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You think you would dodge though if you knew, right?
Well, but it's fate. I don't think you can dodge.
I know. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. Especially with both arms being chopped off. We're both in situations high tier threats, cutting the arms off. Right? It's not like this was just. I'm just going to stand here and let something hit me that I could clearly get out of the way of. So,
right. But like, I think I definitely would say that the first arm was jarring to me in how unnecessary it seemed, right? Like I think they did, at the time, because they turned their arm into Andy's arm, right, to shoot like shoot one of those like rifling parts bullets or whatever, right, and then turn their arm into the Autumn Claw, right, and I think that's when it got cut off, or maybe the arm and the Autumn Claw were. I thought it got cut off, and it got cut off, and Unown was replacing it with their arms after that. At that point, right? Yeah. So it definitely seemed like damn, did you really need to lose that arm? Like, can't you just manifest like an arm outside of your body and like just have it live or whatever? But like maybe you can't. Maybe arms is like one of those things where you can't actually have it not be attached to a body otherwise. Yeah. Draw a shield
and block. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's probably just the fact that like maybe Unown also knows that like their purpose is coming to an end like soon anyway. Like whatever. Like they are going to die, and there is something that they're going to do that they need to do that is very pivotal to the future, and that's that. And he's already resolved himself to that. So getting arms cut off ain't shit probably at that point anyway. So.
And he's met his favorite characters of this history manga or whatever that he has in his brain of like the entire events of the loop, like Andy and Fuko, his favorite characters. He's met him now. If I was saved by Luffy and Zoro coming into actual reality and like I was gonna die, but I was like I knew that I would meet Luffy and Zoro. It's like all right, you got it. Yeah. Like that was pretty sick. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. Yep.
Awesome. Let us get into Jigokuraku, chapter 126, and this is the second to last chapter of the story.
And boy, does it feel like it.
Yeah, for sure. We start here with Sagiri and Jika presenting the elixir to the Shogun or whatever. And then
this first panel, though, first panel really sets a fucking extremely intense tone for me. Because, like, right away, and obviously the Shogun's walking up and has his, squad with him, of course, like, his bodyguards, I'm sure there's titles for all these types of people that accompany the Shogun.
Retainers.
Retainers, yeah. But like the positioning of the people around everybody, it's like symmetrical, right? Like where everybody, it's so super formal and official, of course. That I mean, it's supposed to be obviously around the Shogun, but like presenting an audience with the Shogun, like it makes sense that this is. But it just sets a really intense tone right away to start the story, and I don't know, like I didn't foresee it going this chapter the way that it does, right? Like I just, as soon as this first, I'm just like, oh shit, everybody's in trouble, like right away. Like,
Also, Jika looking clean.
Yeah, that's ominous to me in itself, right? Like it's just like and obviously he's got a little
plan,
something going on here.
Some shady shit. He's like, he says like, I'm gonna lay some groundwork here. Like, give me a few days here. I got some plans to throw in here. It's like, what are you planning? So they give the elixir to the Shogun. Now we get confirmation that Gantetsusai is who will be pardoned. And I really liked the lead up to like the the picking, right? Where it's like, okay,
Yeah,
here's Gantetsusai, here's a bunch of hair from all the convicts, and obviously like, okay, that's bullshit lie or whatever.
Yeah.
So bullshit of a lie too. Like I don't even know if I would believe it if I was a shogun.
No,
like what is this hair bullshit? Give me their heads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I loved, and it's a little bit later in the chapter, like just it was unanimous. Everybody knew Gantetsusai clearly has to take the pardon. It's just because obviously we're two shinobi, we're great at fucking like erasing our presences and change who we are. Like clearly that we don't need a pardon, just let us leave and we're good. But Gantetsusai is like a famous samurai walking around cutting people down in the fucking streets. He clear, and it's just I loved how they're like you know, like it's just like I love that.
He's pointing at himself too. He's pointing at himself like me.
It's like, like it's clearly me. I love that. But man, I loved the translator. Like, I really hope he translates other things. And I know it's maybe because it's like a feudal era, but like just some of these, like the dialogue on 4, like the others' duties have ended with their deaths. Gabimaru and Azachobe, Yuzuriha and Nodogai were severed from this mortal chain by my blade, as was my responsibility. Just the way that's worded is beautiful. Like I just loved it. I'm just like, man, get this guy another. I don't know, like let's go back. What's his name? Let me say his name because it's on here. Caleb Cook. If you're not translating other shit, that
name looks really familiar. I'm pretty sure he does.
I'm pretty sure he does too. But like, and maybe it's just he's good at choosing words that fit the like time period and whatnot, But like, man, it's just like that was beautiful. I love that,
Absolutely, absolutely. We get words about the Iwagakure, right? Like Jika is the one who kind of betrayed them, but like outed them, right? Like outed them, like kind of backstabbed them to just obliterate their clan. The clan had killed, and like, damn, this like I suppose the plan he's laying has to do with this guy, right? Where like they gave him a few drops of the elixir, he turned into a tree, and then like the retainer guy with this scar, he's like, I mean, this shit kind of looks bad. I don't know, like it doesn't seem very good of an elixir. And he's like, no, like you can be a tree, you can live forever. It's badass. Exactly. Like you should do it. Definitely have the shogun do it. He's like, yes, okay. He's like trying to like move him along, like stop
definitely
talking to me.
Conning them. Well, and Jika's like conning them to like, hey, like our shogun will be basically the successor of the Tokugawa shogunate founder, right? Like he's going to be the next most important shogun in the entire history of the Tokugawa, and he's going to be like this great figure for us, like this other holy tree, know, that they're talking about too. And it's like, I mean, it's clearly a ploy because you got the smirk on 10 when he bows at the end when Aoki leaves.
That smirk is huge.
Yeah, and it's I mean, even a little bit before this though too. I also want to talk about how the head of the Iwagakure chief is presented here, and you get to see these kids in the background, and as he's being carted off basically, or apprehended. And you get to see that panel of the kids' emotionless faces as their father figures taken away from them, just as they were trained to be. Like they're pure shinobi already. Like, fuck it, he's dead. Like I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna get mad. We don't care. That's that. Like this is how we were trained. You've killed my emotions, and I just thought that was really cool, especially because like they don't really say. They just say Iwagakure was dissolved, but it looks to me like these kids weren't killed. They probably let I mean, it's kind of weird to me to feel like you're letting a bunch of ninja go. Yeah, but like,
child soldiers, go be kids or whatever. I don't know. Go find a mom and dad, or become assassins, or I don't care, whatever. Just
go play baseball or something, guys. You'll have a great time.
Last chapter of Jigokuraku is the baseball episode where all the little kids are playing baseball.
There's always a baseball episode in anime, isn't there? Like,
in a lot of them, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the kind of confirmation of the I Ching prophecy, right? So like, the I Ching that Guifa was mentioning revealed that only 2 men and 1 woman would, make it out with their lives intact or whatever, right? And of course, like, yes, only Sagiri, Jika, and Gantetsusai made it out of this situation, able to be themselves publicly, able to continue their names and their lives as they were before. Meanwhile, everyone else is forced to pick a new path, pick a new name, be in hiding. You know what I mean? Like, very, very poetic. And of course, like with such a badass, you know, high stakes mangas, Jigokuraku, you're like, oh my god, are you telling me they're all gonna die except for 3? And of course you believe everyone's gonna die except for 3, but like this beautifully lets it all happen, you know.
Yes. And right before that, the page right even before that, like the page 11 when, you know, Aoki leaves and then the doors, like the Shogun doors officially shut. All these fucking, you know, high and mighty, as they call the high and mighty people have starting to disperse. It's like, I really felt exactly like Jika. Like, he's like, oh man, I'm so fucking done. Glad these fucking people are away from me. Like, it's, and obviously how high stakes the situation was. And it's weird because it's like, I don't know if Jika actually feels this way because of how, like, you know, calm, collected he always is, conniving. He's always very calculating. So it's just like, maybe this was just a show for Sagiri. It's so hard to like want to like theorize on things when you got one chapter left, you know, like, but like something in this next chapter is going to manifest that you assume is going to be, you know, it's going to be wrapped up in one chapter. It can't go on because I highly doubt there's going to be a sequel, like especially with like how like beautifully poetic this one ends, you know, like I just think the last chapter is going to be like, haha, bitch, I got you all. Like, I got him to turn into a fucking big, dumb, fat fucking Shogun, just turn into a big tree, and I tricked you guys, and I kill y'all. I'm the Shogun now. I win. Boom, boom, boom. The end. You know, like
I would be all for that, but it'd be so weird, like to end this. Weird, but like it's like this is the ending, and the next chapter is like a bonus, like, and here's what Jika did with his master plan. He's the Shogun now, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. It's really hard to like foresee what will be in this next chapter because this very well could have been the last chapter aside from what Jika is doing here, like with the Shogun and you know, trying to con them into becoming a tree. So like, other than this could clearly have been the last chapter and that be it, but we got one more, so I wonder what that is. But
I want to talk a little bit about this ending. Like first before we get to the ending or whatever, like the goodbyes on the boat, right? The goodbyes, very, very powerful. Like Nuragai, you know, crying, and Yuzuriha, like, you know, cool and collected, like, and Sagiri's like,
just jumps away,
like,
but no,
like, say goodbye. And she's like, oh yeah, come on, I love you guys, see you later. And oh my god, Gabimaru and Sagiri, that interaction on page 15.
Like
no words.
Gonna say something.
Yeah, no words.
Both gonna, and then they know they don't need to. There's just that mutual understanding. Like they're like kindred spirits or whatever. Like they just know, and that's it. Like they don't need it. Like,
and at page 16, it does. Where they walk past each other, both smiling. Like two of the most beautiful pages.
You need that. Yes. You need that page after the panels beforehand to just feels so good, like, you know, and of course they get their whole page, a whole page, which they deserve there, which was beautiful.
I just want to say one more thing about it, because like I don't think much needs to be said about it, but like I just think it's so beautiful, right? Because like there's all this tension, this huge tension here, right? Where like they're friends, like I feel like they're almost lovers, you know what I mean? I think it's very much hinted that Sagiri does like Gabimaru a lot, and I think Gabimaru likes Sagiri, you know what I mean, in a way. And of course, but like they know that he's got a wife, and like and just like the bottom right where they're about to open their mouths, right? Their mouths are closed, then they're open slightly, then they're closed again, and then they're like, but no, like to wrap it into the Taoism, you know, kind of theming, obviously, like they're going with the flow, right? Like, we're gonna part ways. We don't need to make this a bigger thing than it is. We've had our lovely moments together on this terrible moments on this fucking island or whatever, but like we've had our bond, we've had our friendship blossom, and that's all the good things come to an end. We're done. You know what I mean? Just beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. It man, this chapter, big feels, hit a lot, and all over the place, because it's just like, it's crazy to have. I felt so much tension in the first half of the chapter to be such a like come down, breath of fresh air. Oh my god, this is actually very beautiful. This is super pretty. Like I love this. Like everything is. It's just like a lot of emotions evoked in this chapter. Like this was a really good like it seems like the actual last chapter of the story again. And like there's still like a few other things, like so Jika using this Momotaro story as a metaphor basically for the end of this. Like, you think that's an example, like you think that example is like paying homage to One Piece, like where we are, just because obviously we're in Onigashima, Momotaro is Momonosuke, Peach Boy, and so like it's just feels right. So it's like, hey, this is my like last chapter to get this off. Let's pay homage to the GOAT, on my way out too. At the same time, and obviously it makes a lot of sense. We don't need to hear about what happens after Onigashima because he's just living his life at that point. You don't need that story anymore. You just know that that's that. Like everybody is also going to go out and live their lives. Like, and it was just beautiful. I said, some are going to go find new paths. Some are going to, go back to their home. Some are going to do both, which is Gabimaru is going back to his home to get his wife, which is not even really his home. And this is another thing that's kind of a weird red flag to me. He's like, Jika's being so cool. He's like, you just have to go to a nunnery. I'm going to have your wife set up over here. And you guys are going to have, your great, you guys are going to be reunited and it's going to be beautiful. And then you guys get to go off into the sunset. But it's just like, man, he's just being so cool for a guy that just is so calculating. Like, I just, even though there's one chapter, it's just like, I totally second guess his intentions every step of the way, like easy. But
how about page 18? We don't just have Azatoma driving the boat. We have Azachobe in the front. I don't know if, they look, I assume they're dead, right? But like, and this is like transferring the body, but is he dead? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter. Now that it's ending, but like, so interesting.
Could be a little Tau plant toddler he has like been birthed into. Yeah, it could just be a crazy brother rolling around with a corpse. I thought that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, ooh, man, why? Bury him or something. Do whatever y'all do over there.
But
like,
I can see bury him not on the island though. Take him back
to our home or whatever. Yeah. Okay. That helps because obviously it's morbid rolling around with a corpse like that, especially like oversea. It's like they're going to decompose like right in front of you. Like what? You don't have that many days, right? Like you don't have time. But so that's why I was like, I really don't think that's what it is. I think there's some weird, maybe not weird's probably not the word, but some Tau plant, energy recycling, reincarnating, whatever into a Chobe toddler, plant Chobe toddler. Just like May, like that's what similar. Yeah, that's what I was thinking there too. So
Guifa,
or Guifa, exactly, same thing. But that's the thing too. I almost thought it was Guifa for a second too.
And it could be though. It really could be because the hair is very similar. Like now that you say that, I guess it could be Guifa. So it's hard to say, and then the beautiful. The beautiful reunion between Gabimaru and his wife or whatever. Like, I could definitely see people being angry at this kind of like, oh, what will be the look on their faces? That's for them and them alone. Peeking would be bad, right? Tacky, right? And like, it's like, oh, great. Well, that means you don't have to draw it. Congratulations or whatever. But like, I thought it was very beautiful. I personally thought it was very, very, very beautiful.
That's what I was going to say. Something very similar to that. Like, I was going to say that like some people might say like just like metatextually referencing the end of the story, and this, it's like Jika's telling us it's the end of the story as he's telling characters it's the end of your story, like people could be like, maybe that's a little corny. I don't think so. I personally, but I could see where an argument is to be made there. But obviously, again, it's all in execution, right? I thought this was executed perfectly. I really, really loved it, and maybe the real paradise was the friends we made along the way, right? Hell's paradise. We made our friends. They're all here. We did it.
Yeah. Oh man. Very good. Great chapter. Did you have anything else for Jigokuraku?
Nah. That's it. Effectively, the story's done. It was beautiful. I loved it. We'll see what happens next week. But who knows? Maybe it's just like things all over here. A montage of I don't know. Who knows? But
we'll see.
You just really gotta explore. There's a smidge of Jika's like what these intentions were. Like, it could be left up like really fucking enigmatic, like for up to interpretation on what happens at the end, which is cool in its own way too. But like, just telling us is cool too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I think next week we can have a little talk about what we think about the whole series, looking back after it's all done. But I think we should definitely wait for the final chapter to give our full opinion or whatever. And all right. Well, I think that will do it for this week's Special Grade podcast. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you all again for subscribing to the Patreon. We love you so much.
Yes,
welcome to our two newbies. Hit us up in the Discord in the Special Grade chat. We will see you next time. Wrapping up, I'm your host, Nickums.
Peace, y'all. It's Kiko.
See you later, y'all.
Bad mother!